Hey everyone, and welcome back to the SCREENY. Impractical Jokers is one of the best shows of its kind that we've ever seen. There's something about watching the four lifelong friends do stupid things that just works. It's worked so well that the series is in its 8th season, currently airing on Comedy Central. You would think that after all these years we'd get bored, but Murr, Q, Joe, and Sal just keep delivering the goods. The best part? When the biggest loser takes the big punishment. Join us as we take a look at the Impractical Jokers punishments. That's were painful to watch. Before we begin, do us a favor by clicking that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a video on your favorite TV shows. Close Encounters. Out of all the guys, Murr is the most socially awkward. Sal comes a close second, but Murr wins out. Why? Because at his core, he's a really nice guy. When he has something to do that would offend someone or annoy them, he gets visibly nervous. It's awesome to watch to know that not all of them are assholes. In the latest series of the show, Murr finds himself facing a simple yet effective punishment. He has to go into a quiet cafe where people are hard at work on their computers and close all of the laptops he sees. If you've ever worked in a cafe, you know that it can be difficult at the best of times. The Wi-Fi is patchy, the coffee machine is noisy, and other people are just irritating. So, even before Murr starts to work his magic, these people weren't in the best of moods. He started out by slamming an unsuspecting dude's laptop shut, making out that the girl behind him was staring at the screen. He did pretty well for a while there until he took a seat at a table in front of a guy who was literally so confused by his BS that it was excruciating.
He's looking around like he can't believe what's happening.
It's a brilliant bit that is perfect as heck. Tipping point. Delivering food for a living isn't all it's cracked up to be. Usually the wages are low and the commutes are long, so the bigger the tip, the better. The guys cooked up the perfect punishment for Sal by sending him to a co-work space dressed up as a delivery guy. He had to deliver the lunches to the people working there, but no matter what they tipped him, he had to say it wasn't enough and act like an entitled douche. We have to say, this latest season of the show is going back to the basics in the best ways. Sal casually waited for his first victim, and boy was it a doozy. The first guy to walk out was a young, nice dude that seemed to be really remorseful that he didn't tip enough. You know that expression, a rabbit caught in headlights? That's what the poor guy looks like. It was like he'd been called into the principal's office for passing notes in class. Sal ended up so excruciated about the whole thing that he had a stomachache. Brewery Bonanza. Joe is notoriously hard to shake. Out of the four of them, he has the thickest skin and it takes a lot to break him. Whenever he loses, the rest of the guys have to come up with something really spectacular to make him sweat. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. When he ended up as the biggest loser, he was carted off to a brewery where he posed as a manager on his break. Only, that wasn't the only thing that he was breaking. The crew had rigged up 8 of the tables in the busy restaurant to break. While crew sat there at those tables incognito, the other members of the public had no idea what was going on. The best part? Joe had to make the tables break, but didn't know which ones were rigged and which ones weren't. He flung himself onto a guest's table butts first, but it didn't snap. Cue hysterical laughter from the rest of the guys behind the scenes. It's a wonder that he didn't impale his behind on glass. Joe went in full of enthusiasm, launching himself across customers like he was Free Willy making a bid for the open seas. What a sight to behold.
Look at the carnage.
Cue the musical. All the guys were middle-aged before they got their big break with this show, so it goes without saying that they had regular jobs before fame. Q used to be a firefighter in his native Staten Island, so when he needed a punishment, his buddies came up with the perfect plan. They took Q to a musical theater school and forced him to perform in a show. He didn't know what the show was about or that the audience was made up of his firefighter pals. All his lines were on cue cards, so all he had to do was stand up on the stage and get down to it. The musical was so cringeworthy that it was truly a sight to behold. As soon as Q saw the audience, he put his head in his hands and looked like he was going to poop his pants. Complete with songs, humiliation, and a middle finger to his fans, Q battled on bravely. He even tried to sing along, but he ain't no Julie Andrews, that's for sure. Beastly surprise. Sal is known as the baby of the group for a reason. He hates anything remotely scary, including haunted houses, ghosts, and big animals. Because of that, he's often an easy target. That's why we love him though. He's like a giant's baby with a beard. For this punishment, Sal was placed in a small metal cage in a bear enclosure with a bucket of fried chicken. He was sweating harder than Morrissey at a meat festival. Anytime the rest of the gang even spoke, Sal could barely reply. He was so shaken up. They tasked him with putting fried chicken between the bars of the cage to lure the bears closer. The bears were in such close proximity that Sal could feel them breathing on him. At one point, the two animals got a little handsy with each other, and it looks like Sal was about to have a heart attack. He thought that the punishment was over when he ran out of chicken.
I'm out of chicken.
But Murr, Q, and Joe started throwing meat into the enclosure to bring the bears closer to their poor, trapped friend. Who needs enemies when you've got buddies like that, right? Public exam. Do you ever have one of those nightmares where you have to perform on stage but you're naked? Or you show up to school without your pants on? Apparently, it's quite a common fear, and for a good reason. Who wants to be seen in such a vulnerable state in front of a bunch of other people? It's not fun. Back in 2016, the guys came up with the punishment to end all punishments for Murr. They wouldn't give him any other information, just told him that he was a volunteer and shoot him out on stage. Murr faced his fears at a health seminar in a room full of men. It soon became clear that he was going to be the guinea pig for a very public prostate exam. Amazingly, he did it. Where most men fear to tread, Murr went straight in. The entire audience were in fists of laughter as the doctor bent him over the bed and, well, went where no man has ever gone before. It might be one of the funniest things that we've ever witnessed, but prostate health is no joke. Get that checked out, guys. Just not on TV. Unless that's what you're into, in which case, have at it. Twerk it. Last year, Joe found himself itching for a punishment on a lovely summer day. The Jokers marched to a local mall where they set Joe up as a car washer. When customers pulled up to enjoy a day of shopping, they would come back to find their car being polished by Joe. Initially, he was fully clothed, but the guys didn't think it was fair to let him sweat it out in the heat. Being the nice, caring friends that they are, they provided Joe with an itsy-bitsy blue bikini that totally accentuated all the right places. As if washing people's cars without their consent wasn't enough, Joe had to bend over and vacuum the inside of a guy's car while he twerked his butt off. This is as close to TV gold as it gets. The driver of the car looked majorly uncomfortable, but he still managed to whip out his cell and record Joe's efforts. We said it before, and we'll say it again. It takes a lot to break Joe's spirit, but this one came pretty darn close. Who wants to let it all hang out for strangers like that? The twerking means it lands a coveted place on this list. The birds and the bees. Q got all suited and booted for this one, and he certainly looked like a teacher. He was going to be thrown in front of a classroom full of 6th graders to tell them all about the birds and the bees. As if that wasn't terrible enough, his comrades decided to up the ante by putting some special guests in the room and pulling the kids out at the last second. Q thought he was walking into a room full of kids, but he found his mom and dad. It didn't take long for him to figure out what he had to do: give his mom and dad a talk about the intimate workings of lovemaking. Producers slipped some special pictures in the slideshow, including a candid of where Q's mom and dad make the magic happen. How the guys got his poor parents to agree to this, we'll never know. Q was then tasked with telling his mom and dad who he lost his virginity to, because that's a subject most people want to talk about with their parents, right? Mom looked unfazed for the most part, at least until Q took the donuts and the hot dogs out. You could have cut the tension in the room with a knife. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos on your favorite TV shows, and tap one of the 2 videos on screen for another amazing video.